freaks. I'm recording already. This is the part where the music will be starting. We're gonna talk, we're gonna banter. A little bit back and forth in here. I'm gonna do this. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 51 of the Old Man Magic Podcast. It is Sunday, July 30th, 2023. I have shit all over my computer now.
That's fantastic, though.
Thank you for joining us. If you're watching us on YouTube, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. If you're listening on one of the audio-only platforms we're on, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, subscribe there. Then afterwards, come to YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube as well. You can follow us on social media. We got a Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, Alex. We post cards. We post mushrooms. I post garden photos, episode notifications. Who knows how that's going to expand in the future. We're going to be posting all sorts of stuff. Last week, we began our review of Premodern-legal Cantrips. We ended with Urza's block last week, Alex. This week, we're going to bring our review to an end. I thought I would have a follow-up this week. You know, when I was posting last week's episode, I panicked. I'm like, oh my God, I made a huge mistake. I left out the number one cantrip in Ice Age. I left out Brainstorm. I even talked about it when I posted the episode, like in the notes underneath. And then somebody reminded me, Brainstorm isn't legal in pre-modern. So that's why I left it out. I purposely left it out for a reason. I forgot a week later why I had left it out and I panicked. But there's no need to panic. There are no follow-ups. We're going to get right into segment one. I call segment one Premodern Cantrips, part 2, Mercadian Masques to Scourge. So if you don't remember what we were doing, Alex and I, we were coming up with a list of all of the cantrips that were illegal in pre-modern. We're discussing their respective pros, cons, trying to figure out what the best cantrips are to include in decks. Brief reminder, what is a cantrip? It's a spell that draws a card in addition to having another minor effect. I'm going to pull up the list. If I can find where it is. Here we go. I had it ready to go. Mercadian Masques, one cantrip, but it's Brainstorm, Alex. So we're going to move past that one again, as we've learned, not legal in pre-modern. Nemesis, I found none. Prophecy, okay. I found none. I don't know if this is right or if I'm missing things. I'm looking on Scryfall. If there's any viewers that know of cantrips that are printed in Nemesis or Prophecy, let me know. Invasion, chock full of cantrips.
That's a lot.
We've got a lot to discuss here. There were 26 cantrips present in Invasion. Aggressive Urge, one colorless, one green, instant. Target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Draw a card. Very basic cantrip.
Yeah, that's the one that's like a slightly better version of the one from Visions. Was it Visions or Mirage? The rhinoceros.
Feral Instinct?
Yeah.
Feral Instinct, yeah, was in Visions. What makes it better than Feral Instinct? I can't remember.
One was a slow trip. I think you drew it the next turn.
Okay. Annihilate. This is too big of a casting cost to be a cantrip, but it has a draw card effect.
Oh,
3 colorless, 2 black, instant. Destroy target non-black creature. It can't be generated. Draw a card. When you get into this category of cards, this high casting cost, this is where I have questions about whether or not it's even considered a cantrip, but I threw it in.
Yeah.
Too high casting cost for me to ever play this one, though.
Yeah, I agree with both things about its casting cost. Yeah. Worth mentioning, though.
Bind. 1 colorless, 1 green, instant. Counter target activated ability. Draw a card. It's interesting. I just don't know how many uses how often I would get use out of this card. I like being able to target or counter like triggered abilities more so than I like countering activated abilities. I think I get more use out of that.
Oh, you think so?
But I do.
I never thought about it before, like which one you encounter. Like, do you have an idea of like the ratio between the two that you encounter more? You know, like.
I don't. I just feel like I feel like triggered abilities occur more often.
Yeah, like you think triggered abilities occur more often than activated abilities,
I do, but I could be totally wrong about that.
or at
But
least
that-
maybe ones that you're worried about, like ones
Yeah.
that are strong enough to concern you. Or
Chaotic.
plus they're usually not expected. You know what I mean? If something's like triggered upon casting, like you might not know that it's coming, so it's more of a surprise.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Chaotic Strike. What do we have here? 1 colorless, 1 red. Instant. Play Chaotic Strike only during combat after blockers are declared. This is a coin flip one. Choose target creature and flip a coin. If you win the flip, that creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Draw a card. That's just terrible.
At least it doesn't have a downside if you lose the coin flip.
Yeah, I just don't like these cards where, especially when you're talking about cantrips, there's already a minor effect. You're casting a spell, you're sinking mana into a spell, you don't even know if the effect is going to occur. It's all based on a flip of a coin.
+1/+1 is small for it to only work half the time.
I mean, it's right here, aggressive urge.
Yeah,
I would.
It should be +3/+3 if it's going to be a coin flip.
I would deal with the coin flipping. I would leave some things up to chance if the effect was large enough. But in this case, just don't see the point in running that card. We have Chromatic Sphere. I like Chromatic Sphere. Chromatic Sphere is like a Barbed Sextant, but in spherical form. It is 1 colorless artifact. Pay 1 colorless, tap and sacrifice Chromatic Sphere. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Draw a card. I believe this is exactly like Barbed Sextant. It's the same exact thing.
Can't remember now, but it would be, except that Barbed Sextant would be next turn draw a card, probably, right?
Oh, that's true, because it is a slow trip. It's a strictly better Barbed Sextant. I think there's a card called Chromatic Star also. That is post Premodern.
I think. It is oh no, I'm wrong.
I think it's exactly the same thing, but it was printed after Scourge.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I have to put this in my commander deck, actually.
Mana fixing?
Yeah.
Cheap mana fixing.
I was thinking about putting a Lotus Petal in, so I'm not sure.
I mean, that's also great, but they're $20, and Chromatic Spheres are what? Probably 50 cents.
Yeah.
That's what I'm guessing.
I want Lotus Petal anyways, though. That's just a card, I want to eventually build a playset of.
Yeah. Premade. Next cantrip from Invasion. 1 black instant. Remove target card in a graveyard from the game. Then draw a card. Decent. But narrow.
I feel like I'd probably just rather play like a Tormod's Crypt or something.
Something that can take out more than 1 card from the graveyard, or something like a Phyrexian Furnace that is repeatable.
Although the card drawing is really important for you, then,
Phyrexian Furnace, it is 1 colorless to play, and you can pay 1 colorless and sacrifice it to do exactly what Cremate does, and you draw a card. Or you could just use it repeatedly to continuously remove a card from the player's graveyard, but you have to only remove the bottom card of the player's graveyard from the game. So you can't go straight to the middle of the graveyard, pick out 1 card. I guess Cremate has that one benefit over.
Well, you can when you sacrifice the Phyrexian Furnace.
Remove target card in any graveyard from the game and draw a card. Yeah. Okay.
So it's non-sacrificial ability. You're right. It has to just be the bottom.
So for 1 extra mana, because if you wanted to do this right away, you'd have to pay 1 mana to play the furnace and then pay 1 mana and sacrifice the furnace. You could essentially perform the same function that Cremate performs and draw the card. Or you could just pay some 1 mana and use it over and over again.
Right. Yeah. Plus it's colorless. So
Plus it's colorless.
I kind of like that. It's,
The furnace is good, and I'm kind of surprised it's still a 50-cent card. Doesn't get more play. I don't know. I see it sideboarded in a lot, especially you consider graveyard decks are so big in so many different formats.
Yeah. I only see Weatherlight and the List. Is that true?
Yeah, that's it. And then some World Championship decks. So you have some gold bordered options.
Weird to see something only reprinted in the List. I mean, I'm sure it happens, and I don't notice too much, but
In Invasion, we have Crystal Spray. 2 colorless, 1 blue instant. Change the text of target spell or permanent by replacing all instances of 1 color word or basic land type with another until end of turn. Draw a card.
we saw that recently.
I will never play this card, but it's really shooting up in price because it's in Don Don.
Mhm.
So outside of Don Don, I don't know that anybody ever played this card or ever will play this card. Disrupt, you have another counterspell type cantrip, 1 blue instant, counter target instant or sorcery spell until its controller pays 1 colorless, draw a card. Unless its controller plays 1 colorless, draw a card. I don't love it. I don't like counter spells that my opponent can get around. There are counter spells like this that I do play, especially early in the game, because often they don't have the 1 colorless to pay. So it's pretty much, if this is in your hand early game, it is a guaranteed counter.
But so this is a reprint. This is the one we talked about from Weatherlight with the Faraday.
The cage,
Mind
okay.
Bee cage, yeah.
But it's limited to an instant or sorcery. I don't love that. Force Spike. It's essentially a limited Force Spike, right?
Does Force Spike do what? Instants and sorceries and creatures, or just?
I think Force Spike is everything. I'm going to type this in, but you don't get the card draw. Yeah, Force Spike is 1 blue instant, counter target spell unless its controller pays 1 colorless. So you don't get the card draw. I don't know what I said about this just the other week when we saw the Disrupt in the Faraday cage.
I think you were more favorable to it last week.
Maybe it's the art. I'm not a fan of it. Or maybe at the time I wasn't comparing it to Force Spike, and now I'm thinking about Force Spike, and I'm just like,
you did mention Force Spike last time.
Okay, I'd still rather play as Force Spike.
Yeah, it's just any spell, huh? I mean, yeah, I don't know. If you have Force Spike in your deck and you have room in your sideboard, you might not want to waste it on that, but you could have it as a sideboard card for against opponents that are heavy on, instants and sorceries.
You could. We got Dredge, 1 black, sacrifice a creature or land, draw a card. Again, excellent anti-curse land tech. Other than that,
graveyard filler basically is.
You could also run this in your deck when you're playing against me, and I'm playing that Rootwater Merfolk deck where I enchant your creatures and then steal them. You could cast Dredge at instant speed to sacrifice the creature before I steal it. Okay. You could do that against a control magic or anything too.
That's good. That's a good thought. I didn't think of it that way.
Sideboard this in against your buddies who play decks where they're always stealing stuff from you.
Yeah.
Other than
like
that,
art too. Pretty cool looking card.
This looks like the guy from Entomb on it. He has the same kind of shovel. The art from Entomb. I don't know if you remember that.
Maybe everyone had the same kind of shovel back then. There.
Exclude. 2 colorless, 1 blue instant, counter target creature spell, draw a card.
Especially if that creature is a big robotic crab thing.
I don't know what that is. But that's a mighty high casting cost for a creature specific counter.
Yeah, why not have the same cost as like Disrupt or Force Spike?
Manipulate Fate. 1 colorless, 1 blue, sorcery. Search your library for 3 cards, remove them from the game. Then shuffle your library, draw a card. I don't know what to do with this card. We had a brief discussion last week about, I can't remember which card it was, but it involved removing things from the game.
Yeah.
Foreshadow.
Oh, okay.
No, not foreshadow. Foresight.
Okay.
And we just don't know yet what there is in the game that can actually interact with cards you've removed from the game. Back when we played, there was really nothing. Back when Invasion was printed, I don't know if there was even nothing. I mean, if there was even anything removed from the game. So I don't know what people do with this. Maybe nothing. Maybe that's why I've never seen it in a deck.
I mean, I don't think there would have been anything that could have worked with that until they changed it to exile as like a term. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once they made it like a keyword like that, then I think that's when you would start to see. But I still don't know how many are in the game now these days. But yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that being, as long as there's not something already that's better, which there might be, but that could be a good way to set up a combo with something that interacts with exiled cards.
I'm having trouble here.
It's all right. You wiggling?
There we go. Yeah.
Wiggle.
The next one I really like, Opt. 1 blue instant. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card in the bottom of your library. Draw a card. So this is just a great card for digging through your deck very early. Just elegant, 1 casting cost. It's an instant. Helps you find what you need early on. I will be running this. And this topic first came up when we were like, how can we maybe upgrade the Turbo Xerox deck? Opt would go in.
Okay, yeah. And so like Sleight of Hand is really similar.
Sleight of Hand is also very good. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I realized I didn't put it in this list anywhere because it was printed in Portal. I was just looking at expansions, like the list of expansions, and the list I was looking at didn't include Portal, but Portal is pre-modern-legal, and I do have some Sleight of Hands that I purchased from Portal.
Yeah, and then it was in 7th edition.
Yeah, and Sleight of Hand is also very good, and that is also something I would consider putting in an upgraded Turbo Xerox deck these days.
The Portal Sleight of Hand is the only one with the fill folio art.
It's a little bit more expensive. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but I think they're over $5.
I was maybe $5, but I don't know.
Maybe around $5. Let me look that up real quick. Sleight of Hand.
And then they're also like Ponder too, a little bit.
Portal Second Age. Yeah, they're currently around $4 right now.
Okay, cool.
Anyway. Moving on to Recover. Recover is 2 colorless, 1 black sorcery. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So that's not bad. You get something back from your graveyard. You get to draw a card. It goes straight to your hand instead of on top of your library. We've seen some cards that take things from your graveyard on top of your library. Bone Harvest, I think, from Mirage, although you could do that with more than 1 creature. This just brings 1 creature back, but it goes to your hand. Not straight into play. That's too much to ask for here. We're talking about a common with a cantrip ability. This ain't bad though. Might work its way into some popper decks. This next one I really like this one as well. Repulse. Blue has some banger cantrips here in Invasion. Doesn't surprise me. I feel like blue tends to get the best of this type of spell. Repulse is 2 colorless, 1 blue instant. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Draw a card. So I love boomerang type of spells.
Yeah, I like this better than Recover. I think you get a little more bang for your buck here. Recover seems just like a little expensive to me. I would like it to be black 1.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's realistic. It seems a little clunky. Raise Dead is only 1 black, I mean, I guess I just contradicted myself because Unsummon's only 1 blue. So in both cases, you're paying 2 extra mana for a card, but
that is true. It works out that way a lot of the times when I look at the casting cost. They tend to assign 2 colorless to the draw card ability in a lot of the spells. Not in all of them, but in a lot of them they do.
I saw someone make a comment about that. Like they said something about like a card draw is like roughly about 2 mana or something.
We've been going through this list. There are definitely some spells where they seemed to undercost the card draw ability. And those are the best ones. But most of the time I do see
casting cost cantrips that like do something decent.
Yeah, most of the time I do see them assigning 2 colorless to the draw card ability, the cantrip ability. Restrain, 2 colorless, 1 white instant. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt by target attacking creature this turn. Draw a card. So limited fog cantrip.
Yeah.
And then we have a healing salve cantrip. Reviving dose, 2 colorless, 1 white. You gain 3 life, draw a card. So again, it's healing salve, 1 white, gain 3 life. And they've assigned 2 colorless to the draw card ability. Not the best.
Sucked though, so
not the best.
They should have given it some love, made it 2 casting cost. Improved healing salve.
Scavenge Weaponry, 2 colorless, 1 black. Enchant creature. When Scavenge Weaponry comes into play, draw a card. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1. We've seen this type of effect multiple times in cantrips, given +1/+1 to a creature, and then drawn 1 for 2 colorless. Underwhelming. Stun, we've seen stuff just like this too. 1 colorless, 1 red. Target creature can't block this turn. Draw a card. Also way. Sway of Illusion. Now we're cooking here. This is sweet. These guys slay, Alex. Look at them. Look at their outfits. Look at their struts. Sway of Illusion, 1 colorless, 1 blue instant. Any number of target creatures becomes the color of your choice until end of turn.
Oh yeah, that's not bad.
Draw a card.
I'm looking for color change effects like that, so that's not bad with the card draw.
The art is so cool. I feel like we've talked about this at some point in the past, but I don't remember in what context or even what we said about it.
I don't remember it.
I'll probably never play this card, but I like it. I don't see myself having a lot of use for it, but it could get some use in some decks. Tainted Well. 2 colorless, 1 black, enchant land. When Tainted Well comes into play, draw a card. Enchanted land is a swamp. This is like last week when we were talking about Cursed Land. Cursed Land, I think, the one that deals 1 damage when you enchant the land. I confused it with the other one, and you were like, no.
Evil Presence.
Evil Presence. This is an Evil Presence cantrip.
Meh.
And here we go. No. We're getting into the big boys here. We're getting into the big cantrips in Invasion. Teferi's Response, 1 colorless, 1 blue. I need to pick some of these up. I don't have any. They're not something that's going to make it into every deck, but against the right opponents, they are devastating. Instant, counter target spell or ability an opponent controls that targets a land you control. If a permanent's ability is countered this way, destroy that permanent. Draw 2 cards. We talked about this in the context of Rishadan Port.
Oh, okay.
Back in the day in the meta when Rishadan Port was played like crazy in all the top decks. This would be devastating against the Port. Somebody's trying to lock you down with their Port, and all of a sudden you play a Teferi's Response. Not only do they fail to lock you down, they lose their land, and you draw 2 cards.
Yeah, 2 cards.
It's badass.
Not bad.
This will work against a Strip Mine too. Right?
Yeah, I was thinking about Wasteland.
Strip Mine, Wasteland, yeah.
I mean, they're going to destroy themselves anyways. You wouldn't really need like that clause in there, but still, like, draw the 2 cards.
Yes, and you keep your shit.
Save your land.
Yes, so it's super devastating against a Rishadan Port because that's something they can use over and over. You play the Teferi's Response, all of a sudden they lose it. Wasteland, Strip Mine, they're going to lose it anyways, but if you play the response against those, yes, they were going to lose their land anyways, but you keep your land and you get 2 more cards.
Yeah. So it's still most of the card. Yeah. That's cool.
Traveler's Cloak. 2 colorless, 1 blue enchant creature. As Traveler's Cloak comes into play, choose a land type. Enchanted creature has land walk of the chosen type. When Traveler's Cloak comes into play, draw a card. I overlooked this. And I've been trying to think about which enchant creatures I want to play in my stupid Rootwater Matriarch deck. If you remember, Alex, Rootwater Matriarch is the Merfolk for 2 colorless, 2 blue. It's a 2/3. You can tap to gain control of target creature as long as that creature is enchanted. And we talked about, you don't want to put too great of an enchantment on that card in case they get rid of your Merfolk and then you've just like rancored their creature or put some sort of devastating enchantment on their creature. But you could put the Traveler's Cloak on it, and if you're playing different colors, you can enchant their creature to give it land walk against the land types they're playing.
Yeah.
In some cases, they won't be the same land types you're playing, and then you can steal it, and then you have a land walking creature.
And that way, you can even do it earlier. You can do, or you have to do it earlier to use the Rootwater Matriarch, but you don't mind doing it, ahead of time.
Yeah.
before you get to steal the creature, even if it's like a turn ahead of time.
And if it doesn't have any effect, you don't get your matriarch out, you don't get to steal anything from it. You still draw a card. It replaces itself. You draw a card. Again, this is a dumb deck that I'm building, but it's it's just for fun.
Yeah, I like it in that context. Outside of that, I feel like there's probably, I'm not an expert on like land walk granting, but I feel like there's something that's a better casting cost to give your creatures land walk if you want.
It could be. Sable's Web. 2 colorless artifact. When Sable's Web comes into play, draw a card. Lands with an activated ability that doesn't produce mana don't untap during their controller's untap step. Again, more anti-Rishodon port tech. Great in certain contexts, in certain meta. Turf Wound. 2 colorless, 1 red. Instant. Target player can't play land cards this turn. Draw a card.
This is the better Solfatara.
Solfatara is this, but a slow trip?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, we're getting into, with these sets, we're getting into strictly better versions because we've transitioned from the slow trips to the cantrips.
But yeah, I like Turf Wound. We talked about this a little bit before. Like if you're playing a land destruction deck, or even not necessarily, like it, it changes the pace of the game a little bit for you, slows them down. I like it.
They're good if you get it. The problem is you got to have it in your hand early.
Yeah.
But you kind of run into that same situation if you're playing land destruction too, now that I think about it. Because like if you're turn 10 in a well-developed game when your opponent already has a well-developed mana base and you pull a Stone Rain, it's like, okay, you can play the Stone Rain. You can destroy a land, but it's not really affecting them that much. Better early game to really slow them down before they have enough mana to do all their stuff. Winnow, I like this card just because I like the art. Gerard's in there clonking heads and taking names. Like 1 colorless, 1 white, instant, destroy target non-land permanent if another permanent with the same name is in play. Draw a card. Neat idea for a card.
Good for a clone deck.
Yeah.
Blue-white clone.
Zap. 2 colorless, 1 blue. Instant. Zap deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Draw a card. We've seen many spells like this. Invasion. There's a lot there in Invasion. It's a big set. Best cantrips, in my opinion. You got the Chromatic Sphere for mana fixing. You got opt for deck digging. I believe that's what the kids call scrying these days. Recover. I like this one. Don't love it, but I think it's one of the better cantrips in the set. Repulse. I'm a sucker for boomerang effects. And then Teferi's Response and Sable's Web for reasons we've discussed in previous episodes. I mean, they really can it depends on the type of deck you're playing against, but they can really shut down certain cards.
Yeah, they can shut down a lot of good lands that people might use.
Next round of Plane Shift, Alex. I found 8 cantrips in Plane Shift.
All right.
First being Aura Blast. 1 colorless, 1 white, instant. Destroy target enchantment. Draw a card.
I like this one a lot. This is one of my favorites.
Limited disenchant, but with a cantrip ability built into it. And there are so many strong enchantments in the game that I think a lot of times this will come in handy. Get some good use out of this.
Yeah.
Confound. 1 colorless, 1 blue, instant. Counter target spell that targets 1 or more creatures. Draw a card. Don't have much to say about that. Hobble. I mean, it's fine. It's one of many
very niche.
Yeah. Anti-lightning bolt, but I'd rather just put a blue blast in my deck or something.
Oh wait, I read that wrong. I'm sorry, I read it wrong. Never mind. I thought it targets more than 1 creature.
1 or more creatures.
1 or more. Okay.
I guess a blue blast could be anti-lightning bolt, but it can't be anti-Swords of Plowshares. This could be anti-Swords of Plowshares as well. But still. Hobble. 2 colorless, 1 white, enchant creature. When Hobble comes into play, draw a card. Enchanted creature can't attack, and enchanted creature can't block if it's black. All right. And then we got Implode. 4 colorless, 1 red, sorcery. Destroy target land, draw a card. This is a cantrip plus a stone rain. It's the casting cost of stone rain plus an additional 2 colorless for the cantrip ability. It's so high casting cost that it just makes it unplayable in a land destruction deck.
I'd rather play the Turf Wound and then have other cards that are actually land destruction alongside.
Yeah. If you're working land destruction, you want to set the tempo of the game, you want to slow your opponent down, you want to disrupt their mana base. You don't want to do that with a 5 casting cost spell.
Yeah.
So
and Turf Wound is good in discard too.
It is, yeah.
Because you make them hold the lands and then you can just make them discard them.
We got Lash Knife Barrier, 2 colorless, 1 white, enchantment. I had a question. Enchantments can still be cantrips, right?
Sure, why not?
Right? So I went with this.
Sure.
When Lash Knife Barrier comes into play, draw a card. Yeah, enchant creatures can be cantrips, so of course, yeah, enchantments can be cantrips. Draw a card. If a source would deal damage to a creature you control, it deals that much damage -1 to that creature instead. So when I first read this, I thought what was once boltable is no longer boltable. What was once pyroclastable is no longer pyroclastable.
And many other things as well.
What was once shard phoenixable is no longer shard phoenixable.
What was once summonable
is no longer summonable. So I think this is a really good card. It's just, 1 less damage, but the way the game's designed, I mean, the direct damage cards are designed to do a certain amount of damage based on the toughness of the creatures that the designers.
They generally do just enough damage. Yeah. I just found out about this card a little bit ago, and I like it a lot. It would be great in my commander deck, I think, or any kind of like defensive enchantment deck that uses some creatures. Also, I mean, this just says if a source. So, I mean, the source could be a creature too. It doesn't have to be.
Yes.
Yeah, a direct damage spell. So it makes your blockers better. It makes your attackers less likely to die. Yeah, I don't know. And I think it's a good casting cost for something that is durable and has that effect. If you subtract 2 for the card draw, it's a 1 casting cost card. I know that's not really the bet like but yeah, I think it's a bargain.
It's not bad. I don't think it's bad at all.
At the very least, your opponent's going to want to get rid of it.
Yeah. Sisay's Ingenuity.
Yeah.
1 blue, enchant creature. When Sisay's Ingenuity comes into play, draw a card. Enchanted creature pay 2 colors, 1 blue. Target creature becomes the color of your choice until end of turn. This fits into those cards that you were looking for, which change the color of your creatures.
And it also, I've seen this mentioned as like a way to kind of like what you were talking about. I'm not sure if you even mentioned it with Rootwater Matriarch, but it's a easy way to enchant something if you want it to become enchanted. For 1 blue, you draw a card and satisfy that condition. It was just mentioned in an article about why certain foil cards are spiking.
That's weird.
And I'm getting to it right now. Ivy Gleeful Spell Thief is a new popular deck using a fairy rogue.
A fairy rogue. Is this something that's coming out in the Wilds of Eldraine set, or is this something that's out already?
It might be. Let me see while I'm clicking. It's in Dominaria United.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they say in here why. I don't know what that card does really, so I don't know why Sisay's Ingenuity is like the best for that deck.
This is an article specifically about why certain foils are spiking.
Yes.
Just foils only.
Yeah.
Why would just a foil version of a card be spiking in price?
I think it happens maybe when like the regular version is very, very cheap.
So cheap,
like it's common, like or something like that. Yeah, this just says what I think happened is just that stock of foils was low because that's true cards from this era, and people wanted to foil out the Ivy deck because it's full of cheap cantrips. So yeah, it's apparently a cantrip deck. Oh, whenever a player casts a spell that targets only a single creature other than Ivy, you may copy that spell. The copy targets Ivy.
Okay.
So this is a way to double your Sisei's ingenuity in a cantrip deck. Cool.
Okay. Couple more in plane shift. Sky Shroud Blessing, 1 colorless, 1 green, instant. Lands can't be the target of spells or abilities this turn, so just 1 turn, draw a card. Don't see myself ever running that one.
Yeah, I see getting you like some breathing room against like discard, like land destruction, but they're just going to get you next turn. You know, it's not like they lose the spell; it doesn't counter anything. I don't know.
Slay, 2 colorless, 1 black, instant. Destroy target green creature. It can't be generated. Draw a card. Nothing but a sideboard card potentially. I don't even see put it in my sideboard. Best plane shift cantrips, in my opinion. I put Confound in here, even though I was like, I'm changing my mind all the time about these limited counter spells. Aura Blast. Love it. Enchantments are powerful. You want to have ways to get rid of them. Confound, always good to have additional counter options. Depends on whatever counter options are available in the format you're playing in. And then Lash Knife Barrier. I think we both really like this one. I really like the white cantrips in this set. I think Planeshift has the best white cantrips. Or the best cantrips in Planeshift are white. Aura Blast, Lash Knife Barrier.
Yeah, right on. I agree.
Apocalypse. I found 10 cantrips, maybe. False Dawn. Cool art. 1 colorless, 1 white, sorcery. Colored mana symbols on all permanents you control. On all cards you own that aren't in play become white until end of turn. Draw a card.
Huh.
It seems like this has some sort of potential for a combo. I don't know what people would do with this. I'm never going to play it, but it's low casting cost and it's a cantrip.
Wait, does that, am I understanding this correctly? Does that change the casting cost of cards in your hand to white? If they aren't white?
Yeah.
Okay. Neat.
There's a Mirage card like that. I'm blanking on what it is right now, but I think it might be an enchantment. Like everything is white.
Okay, that rings
everything becomes white. I don't know what people do with it. I don't know what I would do with it.
I mean, it would be great if you want to splash in a certain card that has like several mana of a different color. You know what I mean? Like if there was a card that was like red something, and you really wanted it for your deck idea, like you could use this to be able to include it. But you know, now you're adding a whole other card to your deck for that, so it would have to be like really crucial.
Exactly. Fire and Ice. I love this card. Only half of it has a cantrip ability, but I'm putting it in here as a cantrip.
Oh.
And it's really killer because of the other half of the card. So fire deals direct damage, 2 damage divided any way you choose among any number of creatures or target players. That's the fire. And then the ice is 1 colorless, 1 blue, instant, tap target permanent, draw a card. So if this was just ice, just the cantrip half of this card isn't really that great. But you combine the two, you build in the optionality to cast it as fire, even though you don't get the cantrip. Still great card. Still considered it a cantrip.
Which pre-modern deck were we just talking about that used this? If someone and they said that it's usually fire, sometimes ice when they use it.
That was Fires of Yavimaya.
Well, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, we had just had the blue splashed in. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Jungle Barrier. 2 colorless, 1 green, 1 blue. When Jungle Barrier comes into play, draw a card. It's a wall. 2/6 wall.
Oh.
Cantrip and wall.
There's something about this card that just like takes me back to like the Dark, or Legends. Like this feels like I don't know. Just like, I don't know. It feels like a cool old school card.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the art. Maybe it's that it's like, the multicolored, like legendary creature that doesn't do much.
I think it has a Mirage feel.
Yeah, a little bit of that too. Yeah.
Jungle Troll, Jungle Barrier.
It reminds me of some of those like Yeah, there's a couple in Visions and Mirage that have some like art a little bit like that.
Last Caress, 2 colorless, 1 black, sorcery. Target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Draw a card. 3 mana is a bit much for that.
Yeah.
Now we're getting some excitement here, Alex. Phyrexian Rager. All the rage in newer versions of the Rock in pre-modern, in the version of the Rock that some people refer to as Lanny Rock, because some guy named Lanny put Phyrexian Ragers into the Rock.
Yeah.
2 colorless, 1 black. It's a 2/2 creature horror. When the Rager comes into play, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. So you can get it out quick. It can block pesky 1/1s. It can trade 2/2s. It also, because it has a cantrip ability, it adds some redundancy to your deck. It helps you get things that you really need a little bit faster. I think it's a decent creature. It's a good overall creature. If we consider the cantrip ability to be worth 2 colorless, I mean, you're playing a 1/1 for 1 black. I mean, sorry, you're playing a 2/2 for 1 black.
Right.
Leaving 1 life.
It's not bad in a deck that wants fast creatures like that. Like, yeah.
All around, it's a fair card. Pretty decent. Quicksilver Dagger is a card that I really love. I would like to make this work. Haven't tried playing with it at all yet. 1 colorless, 1 blue, 1 red. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has tap. This creature deals 1 damage to target player. You draw a card. We talked about this at some point in an old episode. We brought it up.
It seems a little familiar. This is just my style.
Yeah.
This is my kind of thing.
You could get into all sorts of shenanigans with this. You could run it in decks where you have the ability to untap tapped permanents. So you could tap something multiple times to draw a card. I like the fact that it does 2 things at once, and both of those things are good. It's a pinger. You can use it to. There are so many good 1/1s in the game. You can ping birds. You can ping Llanowar elves. You could ping other 1/1s that I'm not thinking of right now. Finghorn elves, Quirion elves. You can ping.
No, it's just to target player.
Damn it! You can ping the player 1. You can ping player 2. You can ping player 3 in a multiplayer game. If you're playing Commander, you have 3 different people you can ping
yourself.
But you can draw a card every time when you do that. It would be way too good if you could use it to knock birds out of the air and kill Llanowar elves and stuff. Again, add this to the list of times where I have read a card and just said what I would want it to do instead of saying what it actually
It happens
does.
to all of us.
It happens to me all the time.
I just did it to that blue counterspell back there.
I get excited. I'm like, I know this card. I know what I would like this card to do. I'm just going to pretend like that's what it does. But still, I love the card draw ability.
I do too. I like how there's a card draw ability pegged to a tapping ability that does something else too. I think that's cool. It invites shenanigans.
Shimmering Mirage, 1 colorless, 1 blue instant. Target land's type becomes the basic land type of your choice until end of turn. Draw a card.
Okay, so there's like a short turn, like a 1 turn only evil presence kind of deal.
Is this gonna spike in Don? Don't they? It doesn't Don want cards that change cards to.
But it's a set list though, like of cards.
But don't they change sometimes? I don't think everybody plays with the same list. I think sometimes.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess some people could do their own like homebrew versions, but I think it's supposed to have like a set list.
I think it's changed though. Well, I'm not saying it's not a set list, but I do think it can change sometimes.
Really? Okay.
I don't know who the Don Council is, but maybe at some point in the future they'll decide maybe Shimmering Mirage can play a role in the Don deck. So maybe I should load up now 500,000 Shimmering Mirages and I make a YouTube video about it. I'm like, okay, Rudy, you got your Martyr's Causes. I got my Shimmering Mirages. Smash, 2 colorless, 1 red, instant, destroy target artifact, draw a card. Very red. Now, here we get to some cards where I'm like, I don't even know if I should call these cantrips. Are these both too high casting cost to be cantrips? They may even be too powerful to be cantrips. They do have the draw card ability, so I put them in here, but they don't fit the cantrip flavor.
Yeah, I agree with you. Fine talking about them. It's cool to talk about them and compare them, but yeah, they're a little more like real spells that you also draw a card. with.
Tranquil Path, 4 colorless, 1 green, sorcery, destroy all enchantments, draw a card. This is a ability that's often needed in green.
One thing I noticed is that green got a lot more enchantment removal over the years. We were used to it being sort of like a thing that it struggled with, but I think now it's almost maybe even the opposite. There might be like more enchantment removal in green than other colors.
There does seem to be quite a bit.
Not to say it is good still though, or useful still though. You know, this could, you know.
Urborg Uprising is the next one. I don't know what this art is. Wow, I don't know what the hell these things are. 4 colorless, 1 green, sorcery, return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Oh, okay. I didn't even notice this art until just now when I zoomed in. I'm like, well, what are these? Weird. They have faces for torsos.
Yeah, they're like big head body guys.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that too well either. I'd only looked at it from far away.
Best Apocalypse cantrips, in my opinion, are Fire and Ice, mostly because of the optionality built into the fire portion of the card, and then a Quicksilver Dagger. I like the ability to tap on tap. No, even the real version of Quicksilver Dagger, I still think it's one of the best Apocalypse cantrips.
Yeah, it's pretty. I still like it. I think I saw people saying they liked Urborg Uprising.
The Rager's good
it's
too.
Rated 3.19, so it's not amazing or anything. I did see some people talking about liking it. This guy says he uses it in Pauper Zombie. He says Pauper Zombie EDH. I don't even know what the heck that is. Do people play Pauper EDH? I guess so. Probably.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. That is a thing. We're looking at a lot of these cantrips and being like, oh, maybe not, or I wouldn't necessarily put this in my deck. It's decent, but I wouldn't run it. A lot of them are commons. Like most of these are commons. Yeah. So yeah, they probably, if you're playing in a pauper environment, they become a lot more powerful, a lot more interesting.
Yeah, right on.
Odyssey. We're back to a set with lots of trips.
Wow.
Cantripping it up in Odyssey, although a lot of them are of a particular type.
Okay, we can talk about. Get through them faster.
Afflict. 2 colorless, 1 black instant. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Draw a card. Very average. Don't think I'd run it. Ceasefire. 2 colorless, 1 white instant. Target player can't play creature spells this turn. Draw a card.
Kind of abeyancy.
Kind of abeyancy, but not as good as abeyance.
No.
But also a common, much cheaper than abeyance.
Yep.
And then we get the eggs. The eggs were interesting to me, but like the more I look at them.
And then we get the eggs.
Yeah. I see a mana rock, I'm always like, ooh. And then the more I look at the mana rock, I always decide I don't really feel like playing that mana rock. That's what's happening with the eggs. Darkwater egg, Mossfire egg, Shadowblood egg, Sky Cloud egg, Sungrass egg. They're all allied color eggs.
I like their names.
Enemy color eggs, I don't know. I've only come across these allied color eggs so far. They all cost 1. And then for each one, you can pay 2 colorless, tap, and sacrifice the egg to get 2 allied mana added to your mana pool. And then you draw a card.
Oh, and the draw. Okay, with the draw the card. Okay, that makes it. Yeah.
So I mean, they're not bad because they're mana fixing. You put 2 colorless into them, and you get 2 colored. And then if you add the draw card ability, you're essentially paying 1 colorless for the draw card. And we've seen for many of the cantrips we've discussed so far, the draw card ability is costing 2 colorless. So like, they're not bad.
No.
I just don't know that they make it into any of the decks that I'm running. I want them to work.
Yeah,
they're also uncommon, so you can't play them.
Interesting. A lot of other mana fixing options out there, though. So
that's the thing. I don't see myself needing them.
Yeah. Maybe if your deck was heavy and like really wanted you to draw cards, you might use that.
I didn't do any research on these beyond I Googled one of them, or I did some sort of search for just one of them, and I saw a reference to egg decks. Oh, yeah. I'm assuming it has something to do with these eggs, but I don't know. There could be other eggs. This is something I need to look into in the future. Maybe there are egg decks where these eggs play important roles. I don't know yet.
It could be other eggs, though, right?
It could be other eggs.
To this.
Yes, it could be other eggs. I'm just bringing this up as a possibility. Execute. 2 colorless, 1 black instant. Destroy target white creature. It can't be generated. Draw a card. We've seen multiple black cards like this where they'll kill a creature of a particular color and then draw a card. Gallantry. 1 colorless, 1 white instant. Target blocking creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn. Draw a card. We've seen this card before.
Oh,
previously.
Okay.
And another said it was Hannah.
Yeah.
Over
Miri.
Fallen Miri.
Yeah. I still don't hate that.
It's all right. It's all right. Ground Seal. 1 colorless, 1 green enchantment. When Ground Seal comes into play, draw a card. Cards in graveyards can't be the target of spells or abilities. We've talked about anti-graveyard tech. Graveyard hate. This is excellent. Yeah. This is something I need to pick up a couple copies for.
I noticed this in a list. I was looking through pre-modern cantrips and I saw it. It had the new art when I saw it, but so I wasn't sure which set it was from, but I'm glad that it's from Odyssey. That means it's cheap, probably.
It is not expensive. Let me look it up real quick. I know we've talked about this very briefly in the past. We just brought it up.
Oh, I don't remember it.
I mean, it might have just even been off the show. I know at some point I talked about it.
Any kind of graveyard deck or graveyard
just as something that was cool. So you could buy the Magic 2013 version for 25 cents. It's been printed in Commander 2018 as well, and then the Odyssey is the original version. It's under $1. So yeah, got to get some. Peak. This is as cantripy as a cantrip can get. This is like peak cantrip.
I see what you did there.
1 blue instant. Look at target player's hand. Draw a card. I like it because it's so elegant as a cantrip, but I won't ever play it. But I appreciate it as a spell. I like the art. Like everything about it.
Yeah.
And then predict. 1 colorless, 1 blue instant. Name a card. Then put the top card of target player's library into his or her graveyard. If that card is the named card, you draw 2 cards. Otherwise, you draw a card.
Yeah.
This is killer. This is a strictly better foreshadow, right?
Is it? I can't remember.
Foreshadow was in the
I'll look it up.
Foreshadow was in the original Turbo Xerox deck.
And I have them. I remember them. They're in my box.
I believe Foreshadow is in Weatherlight. It was printed in Weatherlight.
Foreshadow was Vision, sorry.
Visions. Damn it.
But no, you're right. It is strictly better because if it's the name card, draw a card and then draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep.
So I like this one a lot because I liked Foreshadow.
Yeah.
Especially in combination with some of the other cards that let you sort the order of cards on your opponent's library, or with Memory Lapse, which puts something on top of their library. So you know what that card is going to be. You know what the top card.
Portent?
Portent, yeah.
Is that the one?
Yeah, Portent, you can portent yourself or you can portent your opponent. You can order, Memory Lapse, also in the Turbo Xerox deck. That comboed great with Foreshadow, combos even better with Predict. And then we get into a few more from Odyssey. Refresh, 2 colorless, 1 green instant. Regenerate target creature, draw a card. Straightforward. Don't think I'd be playing it. Second Thoughts, quite expensive. 4 colorless, 1 white. Instant, remove target attacking creature from the game, draw a card. I mean, expensive mana wise. So sometimes you're limited in creature removal in white, targeted creature removal in white. You have Swords to Plowshares if you wanted an additional card. Maybe if you're playing Commander and you're like me and you're like, oh, I can only put in 1 Swords. What goes in after Swords? Well, Reprisal. Then maybe also Second Thoughts. It's just 5 casting costs to play. So probably doesn't get much play, and I'm not going to put it in my deck because of that. Shelter. This is the sexiest of all the cantrips. 1 colorless, 1 white. Instant, target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice, but just until end of turn. Draw a card. The lady has no pants on, Alex. I don't know what they were thinking when they put this together. What was the art direction? Draw the sexiest cantrip, Christopher. Spiritualize. 2 colorless, 1 white instant. Until end of turn, whenever target creature deals damage, you gain that much life. Draw a card. So it's like a surprise spirit link.
Yeah. What was the casting cost?
2 colorless, 1 white.
Yeah. I'd like it to be 1 and 1.
Yes, it would be more exciting if it was 1 and 1. I still probably want to play it, but I'd be more into it.
Yeah.
Touch of Invisibility, 3 colorless, 1 blue, sorcery. Target creature is unblockable this turn. Draw a card. It's better ways to do that.
Yeah.
4 mana.
So the red ones were 2 mana, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
4 mana seems a lot for this ability. A lot. Vivify, 2 colorless, 1 green instant. Target land becomes a 3/3 creature until end of turn. It's still a land. Draw a card. I like this, but I don't think I'll play it at all either.
You know, I sound like a broken record, but yeah, I want it to be 1 green, 1 colorless. Like, it's just a little expensive. The art's pretty cool. I have to get
it
close
is cool.
to see it. Sorry.
I think that's why I like it.
Yeah. An interesting art style. It seems more like some modern Magic cards, you know? They're doing, yeah. Neat.
I like it.
I like that just for the art.
Yeah, emerging from the earth.
And, you know, I mean, it's not terrible. There might be a way to play this in certain decks. If you have some kind of land animator deck thing going, like this might be, you know, or just some kind of deck where you want to generate surprise blockers or something.
Yeah, I like the fact that you could use it as a surprise blocker. Put this in my Kamal Fist of Krosa and Exploration Howling Mind deck, where I'm drawing lots of cards, using Exploration to play all the lands that end up in my hand every turn, and then using Kamal to animate them all, and then maybe Vivify. There we go. Finally, we got Words of Wisdom, Alex. This is what you offer to the podcast listeners at the end of every episode. Words of Wisdom. 1 colorless, 1 blue, instant. You draw 2 cards, then each other player draws a card. I think you had this in your Group Hug Commander deck for a short period of time, and then you removed it, or you at least thought about putting it in.
Yeah, I don't know if I actually put that in, but
we talked about it then.
Yeah. I like it. Like, it fits in a theme like that, and I mean, it's really not even bad in just general commander play. I don't mind necessarily earlier in the game helping my opponents a little bit, because I might be helping them kill each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Best Odyssey cantrips, in my opinion: Ground Seal, love it. Predict, a strictly better foreshadow. Don't know if you had any ideas about what you thought the best Odyssey
cantrips on those too. I like the art on both of them.
Shelter, I should have put Shelter in there. I left out the sexiest cantrip.
Shelter should be an enchant.
On to Torment. I saw 8 cantrips in Torment. They are Accelerate. 1 colorless, 1 red instant. Target creature gains haste until end of turn. Draw a card. I like that we're down to the 2 casting cost cantrips here instead of the 3 casting cost. I don't know I'd ever get a lot of use out of this, but the effect is kind of neat, and I like the art.
Yeah.
Equal treatment. 1 colorless, 1 white instant. If any source would deal 1 or more damage to a creature or player this turn, it deals 2 damage to that creature or player instead. Draw a card.
Interesting. That amplifies 1-point sources of damage to 2, but reduces larger sources of damage to 2.
It does.
Yes. You paused so long, I was like, did I say it wrong?
No, I was just drinking. I was drinking.
Oh. Interesting.
Insist. 1 green, sorcery. The next creature spell you play this turn can't be countered by spells or abilities. Draw a card. We talked about this briefly. Again, I don't remember if it was on the podcast or off the podcast. I like this.
At least.
I like it. I considered, when I saw it, I was like, maybe should I put one of these in my commander deck? I don't know, because I'm so creature focused. There are definitely times where I'm going to want to play my big creature. I'm not going to want to get him countered.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely like it as a sideboard card against counterspell decks in your creature deck.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, in a creature deck. I don't know, like with your deck, I feel like you have so many creatures.
Well, that's what I've done. I'm not relying on like getting one or two particular creatures out onto the board. I just figured I'll just put another creature.
But I mean, it
I'm
also,
going more
at
the
the
horde
same
route.
time, I guess it couldn't hurt. It's just 1 mana and you draw a card from it. So it's, you know, like you said, if you have a choice creature right then and you want to really make sure.
Yeah, that is the other thing. Because it's a cantrip, it replaces itself. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I haven't picked one up yet, though. I don't have any, but I like it. I like the idea of this card. Yeah, it's a rare. Obsessive Search, 1 blue, instant, draw a card. Elegant, again, exactly what a cantrip should be. It has a madness cost of also 1 blue. You may play this card for its madness cost at the time you discard it from your hand.
Okay.
Am I getting like temporarily confused about madness? Isn't it weird for like the madness cost of a card to be equal to the regular casting cost of the card?
Yes, yeah. But I think it's just because this one has such a low casting cost to begin with.
They could have made it free. Isn't Basking Root Walla? Basking Root Walla is 0 for its madness cost.
I mean, I think some of them are. Yeah, I think some cards are. I might be wrong.
I guess maybe they just didn't want to make it that good.
Yeah. Because it's pretty good. I mean, it's basically just a deck thinner. It's like a card that makes your deck 1 card smaller.
Yeah. I like it. Overmaster.
Overmaster, this one. Remember, I think
red version of Insist, essentially. Also a rare. Also 1 casting cost, but 1 red instead of 1 green. Sorcery, the next instant or sorcery spell you play this turn can't be countered by spells or abilities. Draw a card. This is better than Insist, right? I mean, there are more instants or sorcery spells that you could play that could like devastate your opponent if it gets through that.
Yeah, and it fits, it just slots into like a red burn deck like so well, right? Like this is what red does. And the biggest thing, like if you're playing a deck like that you, maybe I shouldn't say the biggest, but like one thing that you're always tired of is like your opponents countering your like big burn spells. So this, I found this a few months ago and I bought one immediately. I was like, if I had known if this had existed, back in like 4th edition or whatever, it would have been like an auto include for me in a red deck.
Yeah. I like it.
It's just 1 mana and you draw a card.
It's just 1 mana. That's what's so great about it. Plagiarize.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I was just talking about it all night.
Keep wax poetic about Overmaster.
I was just going to bring up Fork. If you think about like Fork and its casting cost and how much people always liked it and thought it was very efficient. It's not the same kind of spell exactly, but I just, I'm thinking about it like in terms like that. It's the kind of card that I could see if it had existed back then and like being restricted.
Yeah, potentially. Plagiarize, 3 colorless, 1 blue, instant. Until end of turn, if target player would draw a card, instead that player skips that draw, and you draw a card. Seems like a high casting cost for that ability.
Yeah, it's going to be situational. Like it could be awesome if you like cast it when you know they're going to do something. You know what I mean? You cast it in response to someone's like Wheel of Fortune or whatever.
But it's just for 1 card, right? Because it says a card. If target player would draw a card, instead that player skips that draw and you draw a card. So what if they're supposed to draw 3 cards?
I was interpreting that draw as in like a draw is however many cards you're drawing, but no, you're probably right. It's probably just for the 1 card specific.
I'm not sure. It becomes better. It is a rare too. It becomes a bit better. Well, it would be awesome if both them skipping and you drawing referred to multiple cards, if one were to draw multiple cards that turn.
Yeah.
That's one possibility, and I know that's not how it works. Second possibility is, let's say there's 2 Howling Minds out on their draw phase. That means they would draw 3 cards. Second possibility is you play Plagiarize. Instead of drawing 3 cards, they draw 2. because they skip a draw of one of those cards and then you draw a card.
Yeah. I'm looking it up and there are rulings on this, but none of them address that really or explain how it works. And the errata has not changed. Or there's no errata.
This is another case we need to ask a judge or just somebody.
I'm going to assume it just applies to the first card you were going to, like the next card you were going to draw.
That's how I'm interpreting it.
Yeah. But yeah, they could clean that up a little.
Because it doesn't say draw phase.
Right.
If they wanted it to apply to an entire phase where one may draw more than one card, then I would think they would specify draw phase. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just targeting one.
If it works that way, I think it's way too high casting cost for what it is. Stupefying Touch, 1 colorless, 1 blue, enchant creature, very weird art.
What's going on there?
The cephalid stupefying this fella.
Yeah, with a gentle scalp caress.
When Stupefying Touch comes into play, draw a card. Enchanted creatures' activate abilities can't be played. Anti-Royal Assassin tech.
Okay.
Unhinge. 2 colorless, 1 black, sorcery. Target player discards a card from his or her hand, and then you draw a card. Another discard spell. So many of them, this isn't the best. The best torment cantrips, in my opinion, are Insist and Overmaster.
Yeah.
These two rare sorceries that actually essentially prevent your creature or instant or sorcery spell from being countered.
Yeah.
Plus they replace themselves. I like these cards, both of them. Judgment. We got a few more sets, Alex. Judgment, we're going to start with Ember Shot. This falls into the category of cards that are so high casting costs that I don't even know that I should have actually considered them cantrips. Ember Shot is 6 colorless, 1 red, instant. Ember Shot deals 3 damage to target creature or player. Draw a card. The casting cost on this is so wild to me. I don't even understand what they were thinking. Lightning Bolt is 1 red and then 6 colorless to draw a card. Now, I understand that the designers of the game have now come to the conclusion that Lightning Bolt was probably too powerful, and they don't print Lightning Bolt in every set, so it's not always in the standard environment. They've instead switched to other spells that have slightly higher casting costs, but still, it'll be something like Incinerate, which is 1 colorless, 1 red for 3 damage. Where's this 6 colorless coming from? This is a travesty.
There are plenty of cards that are 6 or 7 casting costs that basically win you the game when you cast them. Why would you play this?
It is wild. Grave Consequences, 1 colorless, 1 black. Instant, each player may remove any number of cards in his or her graveyard from the game. Then each player loses 1 life for each card in his or her graveyard. Draw a card. Grip of Amnesia, 1 colorless, 1 blue, instant, counter target spell, unless its controller removes his or her graveyard from the game. Draw a card. There's also anti-graveyard tech.
Can they remove their graveyard from the game if they don't have any cards in their graveyard?
Well,
my mind immediately goes.
I would say they can't. Are you looking it up?
I'm trying, yeah.
Yeah, maybe there might be some clarification on that on Gather.
You can choose to exile all cards from your graveyard, even if it has no cards in it.
That's shocking.
So
I'm shocked and appalled. So you can't
the effectiveness of this card a bit.
Yeah, so you can't sneak this through as a guaranteed counter spell early in the game before they have anything in their graveyard. Guided Strike, 1 colorless, 1 white, instant, target creature gets +1/+0 and first strike until end of turn, draw a card. Pretty standard, straightforward type of cantrip ability. Loquacious's Disdain, 1 colorless, 1 blue, instant, counter target spell played from a graveyard, draw a card. Again, more graveyard shenanigans here. Southern Strength, sudden, strength, 3 colorless, 1 green. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn, draw a card. Now we're talking giant growth for 1 green +3 to draw a card. They're wilding out with these judgment cantrips. Unquestioned authority, 2 colorless, 1 white. Enchant creature. When unquestioned authority comes into play, draw a card. Enchanted creature has protection from creatures. This ain't bad, I think. Protection from creatures means you have like a blocker that can block anything, and also means you have an attacker that can't be blocked.
Yeah. I feel like I've heard people talk about this before. Like say it was good. I don't know. It's rated 4.17.
Okay, there we go. The people have spoken. The people like it. It's definitely better than Sudden Strength and Ember Shot.
It was in Commander 2018 and Commander Legends and a Jumpstart set.
Okay. Best judgment cantrips, in my opinion: Grave Consequences, Loquacious Disdain, Unquestioned Authority. I don't think I'm going to play any of these, but I think they're all right.
I would play Unquestioned Authority.
Counter target spell play from a graveyard, draw a card. Sorry, no. The white one. 1 Unquestioned Authority comes to play, draw a card. Enchanted creature has protection from creatures. This is the one I'd be most likely to play.
I like being able to make a choice creature of mine unblockable.
Yeah.
And then it can do double duty as giving yourself, like you said, an invincible blocker. I think it's pretty good.
The others, they seem like sideboard text in limited environments. And we're about done. Onslaught. I don't even know if I should call this a cantrip, but it does have a cantrip ability. It's just not, it doesn't fall into the category of like weak spell that then.
Yeah, this is a good spell.
It's just a good card. 3 colorless, 1 blue, wheel and deal, instant. Any number of target opponents, each discards his or her hand and draws 7 cards.
Yeah.
Draw a card.
Good for, several things.
Yeah. That's it. I found 0 in Legions, 0 in Scourge. So we made our way through all of the pre-modern legal cantrips from Ice Age to Scourge, unless I've missed any. If we have missed any, let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Did we not talk about your favorite cantrip? Let us know down below. Any obvious updates to Turbo Xerox? This is how this all started. We were like, at least it's how it started in my brain. It was like, how would I update Turbo Xerox? First creature wise and then cantrip wise. Then I just ended up going straight to the cantrips. I would maybe put a predict in place of foreshadow. I like foreshadow in Turbo Xerox. I like it in combination with things like memory lapse and portent, and predict is a strictly better foreshadow. So that's what I do differently in the cantrip department. But I found a lot of other cool cantrips that I would maybe like to play in some other decks. I mean, thinking about putting that green cantrip from Torment into my commander deck. I don't know. Insist. Haven't done it yet, but I could see myself running that one day. Even Unquestioned Authority actually wouldn't be that bad in my commander deck.
Yeah, I mean, I could easily put in one of the card draws like Sleight of Hand or Opt.
Oh yeah, all of those too. Yeah. Yes. Sorry. Opt or Sleight of Hand would also be great options to fit into Turbo Xerox. Trying to think exactly what I would take out instead, but maybe even, I don't know. I love the combo of predict and portent. But if I weren't going to rely on that, like I might even rather have an opt.
When I end up with too many cards that work like this, that do like really similar things, like I start to get like have trouble figuring out which ones to put in my deck with like green, like green land searching, like land tutoring, and like different blue library deck manipulations. Yeah.
It's difficult. Yeah. But we have learned, I mean, opt is very strong, Sleight of Hand, very strong. Both allow you to dig deeper into your deck, and both are only 1 blue mana.
Yes. Let me see if I have 1 or 2 that you didn't find. Did you see Mental Note?
Mental Note. I don't think that I mentioned it. Don't think we went through that.
Judgment. It's 1 blue. Put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard and then draw a card. So
I know the art. I skipped that for some reason.
Basically just a graveyard stalking card, right? Unless I'm missing something.
I think so. Mental note. So yeah, I did see this, and yes, it is draw a card. And yes, I don't know what I'd do with it if I wasn't running you'd have to be running a deck where you could play things from your graveyard, right?
Yeah, I don't see much. Yeah, I don't know. Much other utility from it. There is a 1/1 wizard who draws a card when you cast. It's called Merchant of Secrets. It's 1 blue, 2 colorless. I don't know. I don't think that's any big deal really, but maybe for a wizard deck, it's just a
Legions.
Huh?
In Legions.
Oh yeah.
I didn't write down any in Legions, but this is in Legions. 2 colorless, 1 blue. When Merchant of Secrets comes into play, draw a card.
And then I think those were all the ones that I saw in this list I was looking at.
Okie
dokie.
Let's move on, Alex. Let's move on to segment 2. We got a quick little segment on MTG Finance. Quick little discussion about some market moves that we noticed in old frame cardboard. Nothing super exciting, but just some stuff that caught our eye. First one's right here up at the top of the list.
Yeah.
It's had quite a move over the last week, and just today it's gone up too. Soldevi Digger. You and I both noticed that the Digger is going up in price for some reason.
I'm sure, I had some of these, but I can't find any.
On MTG stocks, I do have one. I did pull one out of a pack back in the day. I never got rid of it. And I'm looking at this table. It has done this before.
Oh, okay.
Look at this chart. It's spiked up before. It spent the last 1.5, 2 years coming back down, and somebody's trying to buy out the Digger again. So Devi Digger is a rare from Alliances. It is 2 colorless to cast, and then you can pay 2 colorless to put the top card of your graveyard on the bottom of your library. So things go in the graveyard, you keep refilling your library. You can't get it right away. But when I asked you why this was spiking, I don't know if you know the exact reason. But you said you think there's something out there that may let you go to the bottom of your library and cast cards from the bottom of your library, or maybe pull cards from the bottom.
Yeah, I saw someone mention in a post about this, that there's something that's allowing you to draw from the bottom of your library. I don't know if that's even the correct term. Like you said, it might not be draw, it might be play from or something like that. But I couldn't find the post again, so I'm not sure what new card is causing this.
Yeah.
I do know that for several years, and this might go back to these previous spikes, 2018, there's a guy named Krenko, I think. He's a goblin.
I've seen Krenko because he's been reprinted multiple times recently. The Digger is a reserve.
Now there's Krenko Mob Boss. This was a jailer.
Oh, a different Krenko. Not the Mob Boss Goblin, the Jailer Goblin Krenko.
Dang, now see, I should have pulled this up before the episode because now I can't find it.
Krenko is also a 10 Street Kingpin or an Enforcer. What did the Krenko that you were thinking of do? Do you remember?
I believe he lets you play things from the bottom of your library.
Okay, it's not the Kingpin. It's not the 10 Street Kingpin. Krenko Mob Boss. This is the one that I think was reprinted recently, because I recognize his art. But he also does not let you play things from the bottom of your library.
Aha, I found it. All I could find, I kept using Goblin Jailer, and it's not. And the name's wrong too. This one is Grenzo.
Okay, yeah.
Come on. See why I mixed up Krenko and Grenzo. Grenzo Dungeon Warden.
Grenzo,
Yeah.
not Grenzo Havoc Razor.
Oh, geez, no.
Grenzo Dungeon Warden.
Yeah.
Was printed in Time Spot Remastered. He's a legend. Goblin Rogue. Put the bottom card of your library into your graveyard. If it's a creature card with power less than or equal to Grenzo's power, put it on the battlefield. So you can keep putting things from your graveyard to the bottom of your library, to the battlefield, to the graveyard.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's Soul Divvy Digger. If it's not has anything to. I think maybe it did in 2018. I'm not sure what's doing it to it now, but maybe we'll have an update next week if I read more about it.
Should we just go all in? Should we take all of our life savings and just buy the Digger? It is a reserve list. It's tried. People have tried to spike it multiple times, never gotten above $5. But you know what else is out there that allows you to do things with the bottom of your, or put things on the bottom of your library? I don't know if there's nothing else that exists.
And it's not too poorly, like its mana cost and its activation cost aren't like terrible. So it's not like it's like a bad card if you have things that can make use of that.
Got some interesting art. Classic illustrator Amy Weber.
It's like a Ferris wheel that wants to dig under the earth.
So the Digger. The Digger was something that we noticed because we recognized that card from Alliances. Alex thought he would have some Diggers because he did purchase an entire box of Alliances that he split with BJ back in 1996, whatever, and he's still upset that he did not like his pulls. And 25 years later, he's still thinking.
I got a lot of bad artifacts is the thing. I got duplicates of multiple bad artifacts. So I figured this had to be one of them.
But not the Digger. No, just it's still that box is still disappointing you 25 years later. In addition to the Digger, Heaven's Gate. I don't know that it's on today's.
Flying, man, it's jumping.
I don't know that it's
on to the week list down below, but
yeah, shit.
And it's listing it as higher than it is. You can still get them for like around 20, so it's not as bad as this is saying. But still, it's been going up.
That's the case a lot with MTG stocks because then you actually go to TCG Player. Yeah, so it's down on the day, but Heaven's Gate has definitely been making some moves throughout the course of July. We see something crazy happened in 2021. I believe this blue spike, but it was going up in 2021. And it was making its way down, and it shot up again recently. So you can get them still for what, like $15-20 probably, but it's been going up all of July. Heaven's Gate, to remind you, this is an old man Magic card. This is an old frame classic from Legends. If you don't remember what it does, it is 1 white, instant, changes the color of one or more target creatures to white until end of turn. You choose which and how many creatures are affected. Cost to tap, maintain, or use a special ability of target creatures remains entirely unchanged. This was jumping up in price for the same reason that Touch of Darkness, another card from Legends, was jumping up in price. And Alex, you told me what that reason was. There's a card from the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth set.
Correct. King of the Oathbreakers.
King of the Oathbreakers.
Yeah.
I don't know what this one does, so I'm going to pull it up real quick.
This is the undead guy that Aragorn and crew go off in the paths of the dead to meet and recruit to make them live up to their oath that they once broke, and they have to come to the aid of the mortal armies and fight the forces of Mordor then. So yeah, this guy, he does this thing where whenever another spirit you control becomes the target of a spell, it phases out. And then whenever King of the Oathbreakers or another spirit you control phases in, you create a tapped 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. So they'll double whenever they phase out and come back in. And Heaven's Gate and Touch of Darkness, both for 1 mana each, enable you to target all of your creatures at once and make them all phase out and then phase back in and then double the number of spirit tokens you have.
So it has nothing to do with the color change effect, but it has everything to do with the fact that it's a 1 casting cost spell that you can cast at instant speed that targets as many creatures as you want it to target, right?
That's my understanding. There might be another aspect to the deck that makes use of the color change, but I think it's just about the targeting.
Yeah.
The one article about this mentioned a card called Horobi Death's Wail, which was a flying spirit from one of the Kamigawa sets. But it was just black. And when that card came out, I guess, or when people started using it, Touch of Darkness was spiking. But now that this card, King of the Oathbreakers, come out, since it has white, it allows you to include Heaven's Gate instead of just doing it in a black manner.
King of the Oathbreakers, white and black. So you can throw Touch of Darkness in there, you can throw Heaven's Gate in there.
Yeah. So I think it's worth mentioning. Sylvan Paradise, right? Is that what it was?
Yes.
This is another Legends spell. I assume it's an uncommon as well. Yeah. For 1 green that does the exact same thing, but for green. So now it's already up around $10, I guess. So
yeah.
Maybe people use it for something else already, but
there was no huge like short spike here. It just has kind of been steady rising for a few years.
Yeah. But I keep my eye on this and this whole cycle of spells, because if they introduce a new commander or a new strong creature with green, this could be doing the same sort of thing.
Okay, interesting spikes happen in the Legends. There was one other thing that I saw increase in price that I wanted to talk about very briefly. This is not an old border card, an old frame card. It is a card that was first printed in Alpha. It is a classic MTG card, but recently they gave a new art treatment to this card. It was Dark Ritual. And you and I, we keep an eye on what the new secret layers are that are coming out. See if any are released with some cards that are of interest to us, that have some cool new art associated with them. And recently we saw a reprint of Dark Ritual in one of the secret layers. It was the Frank Frazetta secret layer specifically. And I was like, oh man, this is actually pretty sick. And I was interested in buying it, but I didn't. At the time when it came out, I don't know why I can't find it on MTG Stocks. At the time when it came out, the non-foil secret layer was $29.99. And I can't remember how many different cards were in the secret layer, if it was 5 or 6.
Oh, it was on that last page you were on. It was buried in between some other stuff.
Okay. But the Dark Ritual in particular, the art was awesome. I was like, oh man, I want to pick up some of these. I mean, maybe I'll get them as singles. I don't want the whole secret layer.
It's under S for secret layer. Oh, you found it.
I don't want the whole secret layer, but this Dark Ritual, this would be like an awesome Dark Ritual version to have.
It's pretty cool.
I didn't pick it up. Like I said, you could have bought the whole secret layer for $29.99. This has just been steadily going up since it was released. And it's around 40. This says 36. I looked on TCG Player yesterday, and there were some near mints for 40s and the light play ones, like 39.40. So the Dark Ritual alone is going for more than the whole price of the secret layer when it was first released.
I can't say I'm surprised. When we first saw this, I kind of thought like, this is, limited number, like unique, cool art for Dark Ritual. Like I could see this going up in price. I should have bought it too.
Yeah, not only do people collect Frazetta, I mean, he's a classic fantasy artist, but like, this is so good. This is such a good Dark Ritual, in my opinion.
Me too, yeah. It just fits the card idea perfectly.
So I'm curious to see what will happen to this long term. But yep, this card is currently more expensive than the whole secret layer.
I bet it comes down, Steve. Wait a couple weeks. I bet as people, people just got these and they're selling them and there's some demand for it, but I bet it'll come down.
Yeah, that does happen a lot with, I shouldn't say it happens a lot with secret layers because I don't actually know that. But You could imagine that when one card gets particularly expensive for secret layers, there's a lot of people that bought the secret layer who will then see the price of that one card will cover the whole cost of the secret layer for them. And, if they start to make their way into the market. So I could imagine it dropping, but we'll see what happens.
Secret layers, there's sort of like a short-term balancing thing where like, people buy them because of maybe a few cards and they don't care about a few of the others. So people kind of like trade around and shuffle around which ones they want, or like get rid of the excess from the set or buy up the singles that they want. And, so wait for it to settle out. I bet it'll maybe come down and then start to go back up.
I do have a feeling that this is the chase card from the secret layer.
Yeah, this was the one that stuck out to me from that one.
But that was about it. We saw the Dark Ritual. We saw the few Legends cards making moves. We saw the Digger. I have one Digger. Alex has 0. Let's move on to segment 3. This is the last segment of the podcast. It's the last segment of every podcast we've done in 2023. It is the Old Man Magic Commander Corner. This is where Alex and I build our first ever Commander decks. Once we finish these decks, the Commander Corner will become more generalized. We'll just talk about anything Commander related that interests us at the time. Right now, we're focused on building our first Commander decks. They are old frame decks only. My deck is called the Pump. Last week, I think it was, or maybe the week before, I talked about how I'm getting close to the end. I'm getting close to my 100 card limit. At this point, I want to just add creatures. I want to add more green creatures. My green creatures, I basically have a creature horde strategy, and that's energized as well with Jacques Laver, which gives all my green creatures +0/+2. With Keza, gives all my green creatures +1/+1. Trying to find more green creatures to stuff into this deck. I think I got 3 or 4 slots left. I'm adding another creature today, Alex. One of my concerns about this deck has been my lack of flyers. This is an issue that you run into with green. I have a Birds of Paradise, but this guy isn't going to do much for me blocking wise. I have a Rith Awakener. He's good, but he's only 1 of 100. Other than that, what do I have to deal with flyers? Nothing, really. I got Swords of Plowshare to knock a flyer out of the sky. I got a Reprisal to knock flyers 4 power or above out of the sky. I can maybe pump my Tracker to knock a flyer out of the sky. But I don't have many other creatures to go toe-to-toe with flying creatures. I have a creature in my card box that I was reminded of the other day when I was going through some stuff, and I was like, I should add this person to my deck, because not only is a flyer, it also fits the theme. It is Azmira, Holy Avenger, and Azmira flies and she gets pumped. Azmira, Holy Avenger is a legend from Mirage. 2 colorless, 1 green, 1 white, 2/3 flying. At the end of each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Azmira, Holy Avenger for each creature put into your graveyard from play that turn. So I have a creature horde deck. I have a lot of creatures. Things are going to die every once in a while. If Azmira's if Azmira's in play, she can also get pumped. Another theme in my deck is token generation. I have quite a few creatures where that generate tokens. I want to try to generate a lot of tokens. Deranged Hermit generates tokens. Hazes on Tamar generates tokens. Rith the Awakener, if he gets through, generates tokens. I know I have some other stuff in here too. Verdant Forest generates Saproline tokens. We had a brief discussion, I think, last week, maybe on or off the podcast, I don't remember, about what happens when a token dies. Does it go to a graveyard? Does it trigger a graveyard? Go to the graveyard trigger? And the answer is yes, it does. So I'm generating a lot of tokens. When those guys get pinged off, they pump Azmira too. So I think that's great.
Yeah, I knew that's what you were going to say, because I think you said something. I saw it in the show notes or something. I knew that's where you were going with this. So I'm trying to look up, and I don't see any change in how it's worded or any ruling that says that doesn't happen. So I think it's a really solid pick. This would be great in your deck if it works with all those tokens. Like you said, Your creatures are going to die. It gets the pump for being green, and it's a flyer. I think I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, the other thing that's neat about this is the ruling on it is the ability counts creatures that went to the graveyard before this card entered the battlefield. So
I read that and I was like, hold on a second. I didn't even understand it, and I forgot about it until you just reminded me. I read that
so far.
Okay. Is that how it ends? This turn so far?
No, I think that's what it means, though. It's like
it has to. It has to.
Yeah. Because so here's what it says. So it's because it says at the end of each turn. I think that's kind of one of the key reasons here. Okay. Now it says at the beginning of each end step, put a +1/+1 counter on Azmira for each creature put into your graveyard from the battlefield this turn. So the ability checks at the end of the turn how many creatures have been put in. It doesn't check when Azmira came into play. As long as Azmira is in play at the end of the turn. Well, I mean, she'd have to be for that ability to happen at all, but you see what I mean. So yeah, it doesn't matter if the things died before you cast her. You could do your attack phase.
Yes, that's how you use it.
After your attack phase to get, several +1s, and then she's immediately non-boltable.
That's the best way to use it. Send some 1/1 tokens on a suicide mission.
Yeah, like what's he doing that for?
And then you play Azmira. And then I'm like, that's why bitches.
5/6 flying, pumpable with all your other
bitches. I also thought to myself, I said I just want to put more creatures in, but when you have Azmira, maybe I should put something in like a earthquake. I don't have an earthquake in here, but maybe there'd be some cases where, I just want to earthquake the board and I get rid of all my opponent's little creatures. I get rid of my little creatures too, but at the same time, if I have Mirror in play, I don't really care so much.
What about a hurricane? You're having trouble with flyers,
or a hurricane,
or an if biff of freet, Steve,
or an if biff of freet. If I had
trade
one
for an if biff of freet,
I don't really have anything to trade for an if biff.
You have plenty of stuff. You have all kinds of cool stuff that I want.
Like what? What in particular would you want to trade for an if biff?
Oh, no, it would be probably a bunch of small stuff.
Okay.
It'd be all stuff you want to play with, though, so you wouldn't want to get rid of it. I'll just keep my FB for free.
I also like the fact that she's a legend. So I think I know what I'm going to add next week too. I have another creature in mind that's going to go well with the fact that she's a legend. I have quite a few legendary cards in this deck. This is a hint. But that's my addition for this week, Alex. Azmira.
I think that's a solid pick. I think that's great.
Holy Avenger. I first bought an Azmira. It was one of the cards that I bought a while back, not that long after we started getting into Magic again. And then shortly after, I watched an episode, I think of the Command Zone or something, where they did an episode on like commanders that they were always disappointed by. It was basically like talking to different people who work on the show about commanders they always want to build a deck around. They always think it's going to be awesome, but it never works out. And Azmira was one of them. But that's all right. She's not my commander.
Yeah, I like having her more as a surprise because of what we were talking about. If people see that immediately from the beginning of the game, they're going to be hesitant to kill a bunch of your tokens at once. Or I like it more as a surprise card. I think that's cool.
That's my addition for the week.
All right.
You're up now, Alex. We're moving on to Alex's group hug deck called Group Mud.
Group hug turned pillow fort,
which is deck. More of a pillow, fort
deck. I'm leaning away from certain stereotypical things from each color. I'm not doing direct damage or countering. I'm trying to gently redirect my opponents to fight each other with bouncing and enchantments and creatures that deter them from attacking me. Today I want to add some lands to my deck.
Oh, it's a land day today.
Yeah, a little land day. I have a regular card too. I think I'll throw in. A couple things with this deck. I have a bunch more cards that I want to add, and I'm not going to have room for them. So I'm gonna have to keep tinkering with this. I'm gonna have to remove a few things. There's a few things in here that are still there from when I was doing a group huggy type thing that I might not need. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna be tweaking it over the next few weeks, I think. So I'm gonna take a stall day today and add a few lands in while I think about what I do. I am, as you noticed, I have several enchantments in here. I'm kind of leaning into this enchantment direction. I think I'll add a few more cards that help synergize with that and make this a bit of an enchantment deck. I'm picking which ones though now. So for today, let's see. Okay, I already have Dromar's Cavern. And what I like about this is it gives me 3 colors of mana and it synergizes with Gemstone Mine. So I'm going to do another Lair land.
Ooh.
I lost my list of Lair lands and I'm very sad. I think it's not Croesus's Catacomb.
Are they all named after the invasion dragons?
It is, huh?
Are they all named after one of the invasion dragons?
I think they are, yeah. Rith's Grove, Croesus's, Dromar's Cavern. What are the other dragons though?
Teva.
Still need help.
Darigaz.
I think that might be the one I need, is Darigaz's Caldera. I lost my list, I'm sorry, otherwise I had it here.
How do I spell Darigaz?
D-A-R-I?
R-I G-A-A-Z. Darigaz's Caldera. Bleh. Black, red, green. Is that what you're looking for?
No.
What colors are you looking for?
I'll do Treva's Ruins, I think. That's okay. Green, white, blue.
Yes. Treva's Ruins.
That's still not ideal for me because I'm looking for one that doesn't give me green. So I did pick Dromar's Cavern as the one I wanted the most, I think. I don't have much red in the deck though. So I'm not, I don't know. Maybe it'll be Croesus's Catacombs. I don't know. I'll think about it. It doesn't matter for today. I'll change it later if I need to. The point is now I have 2 lands that can bounce my Gemstone Mine. I don't know if this is a good idea, but I'm going to add another land that I might want to bounce, which is Forsaken City.
Forsaken City.
Forsaken City taps for any color of mana, just like Gemstone Mine, but it doesn't untap unless I discard a card from my hand.
Okay.
So I can put this down and use it, and I can bounce it with one of my Lair lands. And then for a regular card, I'm going to add Exploration.
Ooh.
This will help me with all 4 of those types of lands, because after I bounce a land, I can put a second land down again in the same turn.
I like Exploration. I want to pick some up. Exploration was quite expensive, but yeah, it was reprinted.
Like the high 20s now, I think, plus there's reprints that are cheaper.
Yeah, there's reprints that are definitely cheaper. We're going to go with the OG for now.
Yeah.
Urza Saga.
I like
$18.99.
That's pretty cool.
That's what they say. Which one do you like?
The borderless one that they just made. That's pretty neat from Double Masters. But yeah, I'm going with the old one.
Exploration. 1 green enchantment. You may play an additional land each turn.
Yeah. I have a Howling Mine in here. I think I'm going to keep that, even though I'm not going straight group hug anymore. I have a little bit of other card draw. I don't know if I have enough in here to really make the Exploration worth it. I've never played with one before. I don't know if I'm going to be, having enough lands in my hand to be making it worth it. But it's just 1, and it's an enchantment, so it works into the enchantment synergy. I'll try it for now. I think it might be fun with these Lair lands and Gemstone Mine and stuff.
I like the art on the old one.
Plus, I think it's a target, like I could put this down and people might go, oh crap, I need to kill that. And I won't really care if they do, so it could be a tasty target for a disenchant or something.
You'd be laughing on the inside.
Yeah. Like
on the outside, you'll be crying. There'd be tears running down your face. On the inside, you're laughing. You're giddy. You're thinking to yourself, they've fallen into my trap. Okay. We got your additions for the day, Alex?
Yeah.
That brings us to the end of segment 3, the Old Man Magic Commander Corner. That also brings us to the end of episode 51 of the Old Man Magic podcast. Once again, it was a successful episode. I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank you, Alex, for doing this podcast with me. Do you have anything to say to the viewers? Do you have any words of wisdom?
Here's one for you, Steve.
Okay.
Here's one for you, Steve. As you may know, I like to hunt mushrooms. There are old mushroom hunters and there are bold mushroom hunters, but there are no old, bold mushroom hunters.
I've heard that before. That's a very good one. That is very true also.
Be careful out there.
My mom, who's worked in hospitals almost all her life, she told me stories about some old folks who came into the hospital before.
I want to hear her stories.
Mushroom poisoning. It might have just been like one old Italian guy. I can't remember if it's happened multiple times or not, or if she just tells me the same story. But okay, till next week. Talk to you later.